the Colombian serial killer Pedro Alzono Lopez, who is known as the Monster of the Andes, raped and murdered over 300 girls from Ecuador, Peru, and Colombia. However, after he was caught and imprisoned for 18 years, he was put in a psychiatric hospital. There he was reviewed, declared to be sane, and was set free, in spite of his blatant avowal that he fully intends to kill again. Since he was released in 1998, nobody knows where he is or what he's doing. He is supposed to be 71 years old at present. He is known for being the most prolific killer ever. Your eyes have a separate immune system from the rest of your body. If they get damaged in such a way that it affects anything other than your eyes, your regular immune system can attack the damage and will not recognize them, meaning your own body can permanently blind you. If one of them gets infected or damaged, your immune system can attack your healthy eye and take away your sight entirely. Rosemary Kennedy was JFK's sister. She suffered from oxygen deprivation at birth, and that unfortunately stunted her mental growth. She had a pretty decent childhood, but as she grew older, she began to act out. Afraid her behavior would risk his political career, her father, Joseph, agreed to have her lobotomized. Her mother, Rose, was against it and forbade him from doing it, so he did it behind her back when she went on a trip. After the operation, Rosemary's already low IQ was lowered even further, to the point she could no longer walk or communicate. Her father had locked her up in an institution and basically disowned her. They never visited and never publicly acknowledged her anymore. Rosemary died at the age of 86. Her mother never forgave her husband for what he had done. The Chankiri tree is a tree in the Cambodian killing fields, against which babies and small children were bashed after their parents had been killed. A fire whirl can go as big as an EF3 tornado. In 1923, such happened in Japan during an earthquake. It killed 38,000 people in less than 15 minutes. They got hit by a tornado that was on fire in the middle of an earthquake that caused a tsunami, all while surrounded by firestorms. Elmer McCurdy was a failed Old West outlaw. His preserved body was put on display in a traveling carnival, and years later he was eventually assumed to be a mannequin, until he was used on the set for the TV show The $6 Million Men. His arm accidentally fell off during the shoot, revealing bone and muscle, and that he was a corpse, not a mannequin. Cops were called and the mummified corpse was taken to the Los Angeles coroner's office. An autopsy was conducted and determined that the body was that of a human male who had died of a gunshot wound to the chest. The body was completely petrified, covered in wax, and had been covered with layers of phosphorus paint. It weighed approximately 50 pounds and was 63 inches in height. Some hair was still visible on the sides and the back of the head, while the ears, big toes, and fingers were missing. The examination also revealed incisions from the original autopsy and embalming. Tests conducted on the tissue showed the presence of arsenic, which was a component of embalming fluid until the late 1920s. So nobody knew the corpse was real because it was covered in wax to look like a wax dummy. One reason that crows and ravens are associated with death is because they would often follow armies as they marched to battle. Being both carrion birds and extremely intelligent, they realized a large group of armed men marching on one direction meant that there would be a tasty meal of corpses to eat soon afterwards. It wasn't until 1987 that the American Academy of Pediatrics declared it unethical to operate on newborn babies without anesthesia. Until surprisingly recently, the medical community felt it would be dangerous to give infants anesthesia and believed that they didn't feel pain. Female mummies in ancient Egypt were always more decomposed than their male counterparts. They discovered that this was because male bodies were embalmed a lot sooner than female bodies. Female bodies were kept in the family home until they started to decompose in order to avoid necrophilia at the embalmers. Since 2007, at least 20 detached human feet have been found in the coasts of the Salish Sea. There is a parasite that enters a fish's mouth, eats the tongue, and replaces itself as the fish's new tongue. The stonefish, an incredibly venomous fish living in the tropical waters mostly off the coast of Australia and parts of the US, can cause pain that only escalates with time. Eventually the pain will subside, but even after the barb is removed, patients have reported increasing pain 12 hours later. Without antivenom or denaturing the venom with excessive heat, the pain builds and builds until the patients request euthanasia. More than 7,000 people die annually due to the doctor's bad handwriting. Cockroaches have been recorded eating human flesh, both living and dead, as well as fingernails, eyelashes, feet, and hands. The American cockroach and the German cockroach are more likely to bite humans than any other species. CNN has had a pre-recorded broadcast from the 90s, which they will premiere during the end of the world.